Greetings, everyone. A warm hello to all. I'm Dr. Mercer. Welcome to my Positive Life Answers podcast. I am your podcast host and self-improvement expert, Dr. Mercer. And please, you can call me Dr. Mary. Welcome to my new episode, Identifying Obstacles to Achieving Your Vision and Goals. Today, we will face some obstacles. Your obstacles, whether they're real or imagined, block you from achieving your purpose in your life, your vision for your life, and goals. Listen to this episode to break through obstacles I help you identify and bring to light. We will uncover today identifying your type of obstacles, 6 obstacle busters you can easily carry out, and identifying drainage in your lives. So let's get started. In my Positive Life Answers podcast, my goal is to help you transform the quality of your life and help you create the life you desire. My big goal for you is to help you make improvements and changes in your life in practical and empowering ways. So let's create the best life ever. If you're new and just discovered my podcast, a warm welcome. I'm so glad you found me. In my last few episodes, we talked about actions to take in creating your life vision, discovering your purpose for your life that affects every area in your life as well as your level of happiness. We also talked about how to make your vision statement and your purpose manifest into reality and making supportive goals for that. So for today, to begin with this challenge many people experience. Let me tell you a story about that. Listen to the story. You can train fleas. So here's how you train fleas. And I am stumbling on my words today. Here's how you train fleas. Put some fleas in a jar and put a lid on top of the jar. The fleas will jump up and quickly learn they can jump only as high as the lid allows them. After a day, remove the lid. Watch what happens. The fleas jump only as high as where the jar's lid used to be. They will not jump out of the jar, even though they can. You have fleas that you know are perfectly able to jump out of the jar, but they keep themselves captive in that jar because they don't realize they really have no limits. They were trained very quickly. They can't do that. The way you train fleas to see limits where there are none may seem a far cry from what humans do, but actually humans often are not very different from fleas. So what's the lesson I can share with you about fleas? Well, like fleas, people think there are constraints when there may not really be any that exists. Like fleas, people think there are constraints that may not really exist. They let others train them not to stretch their abilities. They figured they might not make it, so why even bother? These self-imposed limits are obstacles, and using them as crutches, we restrain ourselves from going as far as we can. My episode shows you today how to break through these obstacles, real or imagined, that really keep you back. If you've been with me for a while, you know that optimistic people do not let barriers stop them from achieving their visions and goals. They figure out ways to go above, around, and through obstacles. Pessimistic people, on the other hand, tie themselves down with all sorts of real and sometimes just overly imagined obstacles. To start overcoming your obstacles, you need to first identify your obstacles. Your obstacles take on 2 major categories, in my view, in my experience with my intensive coaching patients and as a therapist for many years. The first type is external obstacles, such as your job, your relationships, your environment. 2, internal obstacles. That can be what you feel is your limited knowledge, skills, or abilities, lack of discipline, agony anchors, or hesitancy to delay gratification and work hard in the meantime. You might be listening to this episode in your car, walking, or putzing around the house, and that's okay. Just start thinking about these items right now as you're listening to my podcast. And later, if you're really serious about moving ahead and making changes in your life or improvements, take some time to reflect, write, and jot down your thoughts. So first, to help yourself, I recommend take a piece of paper and jot down a list of your external and internal obstacles that we just described and gave you a definition for. So think about and list everything you see as roadblocks to achieving your vision or completing your life goals. If you can, now or later, take a break and reflect. Visualize. For the following visualization exercise, use your list of obstacles you just wrote. Get into your relaxed state. Close your eyes. Imagine each obstacle and how you can do away and break through them. Come up with as many solutions as you can. Brainstorm. Don't critique. Just write down as many ideas as you can and break through your initial knee-jerk reaction of saying, I don't know. Remember, IDKs are not allowed here. So brainstorm and don't critique yourself. And take a moment. And then open your eyes and next to each obstacle, write the solutions you conjured up. Circle the solutions you definitely plan to use. Then, next to each circled solution, write the date you will begin using that solution. Reminds me of a quote I really like from William Blake. And he said, great things happen when men and mountains meet. And isn't that true? Here are 7 really fast ways to clear your roadblocks. In my research for my book, Spontaneous Optimism, and my professional experiences, my co-author and I came up with 7 main barriers people face as they work toward their goals, vision, and purpose in their lives. Here you will see the best solutions for each roadblock. The first one may surprise you, but it's so true. Obstacle buster number 1, admit your laziness. On one television talk show on which my co-author, Dr. Michael Mercer, and I were guests on, the hosts posed a question like this. Why do so many people stay in the same job even if they're miserable and don't like it? Why are people so hesitant to move on? So we looked at the host in the eye and said, because they're lazy. And that sometimes is true, and it's hard to hear that. Yeah, you may have bona fide reasons, but a lot of times people are in their comfort zone and they're too lazy to break out of it. The host explained that she expected us to give some drivel about how people often feel that they must stay in their job like they do. Or they say it's hard to change jobs, so people don't want to use the energy to move on. But underneath all that complaining are a lot of overused excuses that boil down to nothing but mere idleness. They just remain idle. That may not sound nice to point out, but it's actually true. What excuses or complaining do you use that, when you are really truthful with yourself, you would admit boils down to nothing more than laziness, idleness, staying in your familiar territory? What do you need to do, right? Be honest with yourself right now. Just be honest. And then listen to this next tip. So obstacle buster number 2, shock yourself. Startle yourself out of your comfort zone. Get out of your ruts you got into. Sometimes when you do something new, you feel uneasy or uncomfortable. To avoid feeling uneasy or uncomfortable, you may yearn to stay in your safe territory by not doing anything new. This is your comfort zone, and comfort zones are really ruts. Imagine what your life would be in a couple of years if you did not achieve your expiring vision and goals. If you feel okay with not reaching your stated vision and goals, that shows a lack of desire on your part. Or perhaps developing your vision and goals was nothing more than a time-wasting exercise. And that's okay, it's perfectly your choice. In contrast, if you would feel upset about not achieving your vision and goals in a couple of years, then you definitely need to get in touch with this reaction and start taking steps to do something about it. And in my podcast series, I've given you and still will continue to give you even more steps to take, but it's up to you to use them. Obstacle buster number 3, imagine you're dying. Remember the classic movie Rocky? An underdog pulls himself up from his bootstraps with a can-do, optimistic attitude, along with a lot of hard work. Rocky gets a chance to compete in a boxing championship. His manager is a former boxer who never pushed himself hard enough to propel his own boxing career. At one point, when Rocky's confidence wanes, his manager urges Rocky not to give up. The manager said that if he, the manager, had not given up earlier in his career, then he could have made it to the top. Since he didn't go for it, he would spend the rest of his life until his dying day knowing not only did he not win the championship, but he did not even have the gumption to try it. That heartbreaking moment points to the importance in your life of wholeheartedly committing yourself to your life that you most desire, and also doing whatever it takes to accomplish each goal that moves you closer to your vision and purpose in life for a delightful life that you'll tremendously feel proud of, enjoy, as well as your family or your partner and people around you. You'll become an optimistic role model. And wouldn't that be rewarding in itself? Obstacle buster number 4, keep your target in sight. My co-author and I, Dr. Michael Mercer, illustrated this point on a TV show, which we appeared. First, we explained the importance of keeping goals in sight. To demonstrate this, we got really playful and we blinded the show's producer, or not the host, but the producer. We turned her around and spun her around a couple times so that she would lose track of which direction she was facing. Then we handed her a toy squirt gun and asked her to squirt the talk show host with a squirt gun. Of course, she missed squirting the host each and every time. She was blindfolded and she did not even know if she was facing the right direction. Then we removed the blindfold. Within 1 second, she spotted the host and squirted her. While this made a colorful talk show segment, it really brought to light and illuminated this important point. Your goals and vision are easier to achieve if you keep them in sight than if you hide them, put them aside, and keep them out of your sight. It's like the old saying, out of sight, out of mind. So how can you keep your goals and vision for your life in front of you in your sight? Well, first, make your vision card and keep it with you everywhere you go. Read it often. Your vision card is an index card or note or whatever device on your mobile devices that you selected to make comments and notes about it. Your vision card is an index card or note, or even a note on a particular app on your mobile devices that you selected to put the information in. And that contains your vision statement, your goals, and actions to take each week. We talked about creating your vision statement and supporting goals in detail. So, as always, if you want some extra help with your vision statement, and if you hadn't had a chance to listen to episodes 40 and 41, take a pause and give it a listen to if you haven't made your vision for your life and found your purpose for your life. Episodes 40 and 41 talk about turning on your vision for your life and manifesting your vision for your life and making it reality. That would help with this episode. However, if you have a vision statement that you created some other way, this episode will help you greatly. So second, create and look at your vision board each day. And I know you've heard about vision boards, but briefly, they just give you visuals and graphics to saturate your mind with rewards you will enjoy as you progress toward achieving your goal. And it actually should be pictures of you doing what your life vision directs you to do. The board contains pictures, images, and words. Look at your vision board many times daily, at least morning and night. In doing so, constantly reminds you of targets that you're aiming at. Looking at your vision board each day reminds you of what you consider most important. So when you're having a day when you're not feeling motivated, you look at your vision board and say, oh, that's right. Looking at your vision card or board each day reminds you of what you consider most important. It helps you focus on crucial actions you need to take. They also help you stay on course so you eventually hit your target. My personal experience from my own personal work and from my intensive coaching sessions we do with clients, we find it pretty hard to stray very far from your goals that are always right in front of your eyes. I made my new vision board at the start of the year. I have it in a binder or folder along with my written goals and schedule. And then I also scanned in my one-sheet vision board into my computer and I put it on my desktop. So every day when I sit down to start my day, my mind is bathed in the images and words I selected to keep myself focused and keep up my motivation. So that's how I start my day when I'm in my office. I see my vision poster on my desktop. It just serves to remind me to stop and look, and I do. And it really does help and keeps with the level of motivation high. So yes, I do practice what I preach, and let that be a good example for you. Obstacle buster number 5. Keep picking yourself up over and over. When my co-author and I, Dr. Michael Mercer, did research, and when Dr. Mercer did more research for one of his books, How Winners Do It, High Impact People Skills for Your Career Success, he spent many days following, or what we call shadowing, high achievers. By spending entire days with successful people in many occupations, Dr. Mike learned firsthand how high achievers actually act, think, feel, and handle a variety of situations that come up. One high achiever with whom he spent an entire day with was a tremendously successful entrepreneur. This gentleman, along with his partner, created one of the most successful ventures in their field. At one point during the day, this incredibly successful individual, turned to Mike and said, Dr. Mercer, the only difference between winners and losers is that winners pick themselves up exactly one more time than losers. So remember that. The only difference between winners and losers is that winners pick themselves up exactly one more time than losers. Yes, you undoubtedly have fallen down or been pushed down many times, and you may fall down again or fail along the way. Imagine how much less you would be of a person if you did not keep picking yourself up exactly one more time. To savor your proud feelings when you overcome obstacles, I recommend you invest in a little time to do this following exercise. Think about it if you're busy, and then visualize this when you get home, or you have some quiet time later. And if you have time now, great. So get into a relaxed state. And with your eyes closed, imagine or picture a situation or goal you wanted to achieve, but along the way you didn't succeed. Yet somehow you picked yourself up one more time and kept plugging away until you achieved your vision, your goal. In the outcome, you felt really proud of yourself for achieving the goal, showing gumption to persist, and pick yourself exactly up one more time. There's an old Japanese proverb that I like and I have read. And that proverb says, fall 7 times, stand up 8. And yes, I have done that many times in my life, as I shared with you in my Victoria's story. Remember, Victoria's story picked herself up many times and became very successful in her life. Obstacle number 6. Obstacle buster number 6. Give yourself a deadline. Imagine someone you met who possesses a load of potential but goes nowhere in life. This person may have all the intelligence, skills, even ideas or contacts needed to succeed. Yet does this individual go anywhere? Probably not. This individual goes nowhere. When you ask them, when are they going to finish a project or goal, the person's response boils down to SOT, some other time. They may reply, sooner or later, tomorrow, or after I finish X, Y, and Z. As you hear their excuses for the umpteenth time, so you say, oh, I understand. However, you suspect that person will probably never go very far. Ultimately, the person will look back on their life and say, gee, I wasted a lot of my lifetime. What this boils down to is that everyone needs deadlines. Sooner or later never comes, and there's always tomorrow. You always will have X, Y, and Z each day to do in your life. If you procrastinate, you'll take longer to reach and enjoy your accomplishments. If you procrastinate, you take longer than needed to reach and enjoy your accomplishments. What's the solution? Dr. Michael Mercer had a great quote in his book, How Winners Do It. The best solution for procrastination is a deadline. That simple yet profound truth is why we recommend all your goals contain deadlines. Without clearly laid out, measurable goals, you do not really have a specific target to aim for. And without deadlines, you have not committed to reaching your target sooner rather than later. Think of some proud accomplishments you missed out on because you did not discipline yourself to meet a deadline. Perhaps you did this in your education, career, personal life, relationships, or whatever else. What did you really gain by taking longer than you needed and putting things off as the years and the months ticked by? What did you lose? Think about that. Obstacle buster number 7, burn your bridges. I love this one. I had so many experiences with this with clients in my intensive coaching sessions, therapy, as well as myself. To move yourself forward, you need to burn some bridges behind you. Then you cannot go backwards or stay stuck in your current ruts. You have no choice but to figure out how to forge ahead. I needed to burn a bridge behind me to succeed in my new business. I began working on developing my new business part-time-ish. However, at the same time, I kept my full-time consulting job. This distracted from my time and focus, but I initially kept my consulting business for just feeling secure that I had income coming in. However, my consulting business grew and became more demanding, and it took more time and attention away from me and from focusing on my new venture. After a while, I discovered and felt frustrated about my part-time consulting business because it made it more difficult to put any time, energy, and effort to building my new business. It made my new business hard to grow, and it was impossible for me to immediately follow up on new opportunities that were coming in from my marketing efforts. So to solve this dilemma, I sold my consulting business. As a result, I got more time to spend and energy in developing my new ventures in business and writing my new books. This made all the difference in the world. I began to grow my new business. I could not gotten there if I didn't burn a bridge behind me. So selling my consulting business freed me of an obstacle that I previously allowed to slow me down and distract. And my heart was just not into the old business anymore. Not fair to myself or for the people I consulted to. And I hung out there for a little while longer than I should have. But when I realized that, I moved on. A key type of bridge to burn entitles people I call drainers. These people that you allow to hold you back. The drainers are people you allow to hold you back from achieving your goals. And notice when I said that, I didn't say they hold you back. And important, notice what I said. I didn't say they hold you back. Instead, I said drainers are people you allow to hold you back. You need to take responsibility because you're the one creating that situation. Most likely, people do not force you to remain tied to your past. On the contrary, you use drainers as part of your excuses for not progressing forward. You may have to handle many types of drainers, and these are the main type of drainers that I discovered in my work with working with people. Drainers are people who, one, put down your vision or goals. These are people who criticize or laugh at you when you desire to make significant accomplishments outside their comfort zone. They also believe that you cannot achieve your desire, and they voice their disapproval and skepticism. Two, they're people who act negative or constantly complain. Such people don't share your optimistic outlook on life. Their aura of negativity drains your battery and shoots the air out of your balloon if you let them. Third type are those who try to sabotage your success. And this involves a relationship with a friend, partner, or spouse whom you consider troubling, high maintenance, or unsupportive. They often distract you when you're trying to be focused and get your work done. And if you keep allowing them to hold you back, you'll get exactly what will come out of that, which is you're not going to get there. So I'm going to give you something to think about and some homework. Here's a way to help you get out of the draining relationships. Step 1, write a list of the drainers in your life, or think about the drainers in your life. Step 2, ask yourself, what do they do that I allow them to drain me? What do they do that I allow to drain me? Step 6, reflect on this question, which is really eye-opening. Do I really want to need this person in my life? Do I need to continue to have them in my life? For those people who you cannot eliminate from your life, make a plan on how you can begin to limit your exposure to them. For example, perhaps you should not tell them about your heartfelt secret goals and vision for your life. I suggest only sharing your vision, goals, and vision board with only people you trust that will cheer you on in your life. For other people, it's none of their business. If such drainers are family members, you may want to kind of limit your exposure to them by not telling them everything. After all, you're an adult now. You do not have to tell mommy, daddy, or other family members every single thing you do, think, or plan. Just remember that. You can still be involved with them, but don't even think about sharing this kind of information with people who aren't going to be behind you and holding your back. Limiting such information lessens the possibility of them shooting on hold in your boat. If your drainer is a family member or what I call the frequent caller club, you need to inject such telephone terrorists out of your life. So figuratively cut the cord, screen your calls, don't return phone calls immediately and keep reinforcing them on their bad behavior. Keep your contacts with them time limited, and limit the amount of information you disclose to them about your goals and vision. So you don't always have to cut people out of your life totally, but you don't have to have them involved in this part of your life. Remember, a newborn starts to become an independent human being the moment the umbilical cord is cut. For many adults, I should say, the first step is to figuratively cut the cord. If your drainers are long-term friends and don't reinforce or agree with their goals in life, you can limit your contact with them or find a new sets of friends who are like-minded like you. Dr. Michael Mercer and I did this coaching with an executive whose friends consisted of his old, what he called, childhood buddies. They were friends for decades. Their chief activity together was to drink and watch sports and complain about their relationships. The man realized he wanted to expand his horizon, and this included changing his career, really finding and developing a great relationship, and doing more productive things with his leisure time. It dawned on him that his friends exhibited the opposite of his newly discovered vision for his life. In a follow-up session, he told us he didn't make headway on his goals and vision until he greatly cut back on the contact and the activities with his childhood friends. At the same time, he began developing friendships with people who shared their visions similar to him. So it was kind of a gradual process, but it worked. Another challenge that pops up as you become more successful is jealousy by other people who realize from your successes that they didn't go as far as they wanted. They were just content or comfortable, but now it reminds them of not achieving their goals. So, for example, the second time I was invited to appear on the Oprah show, we got together with a group of friends and talked to one of them who was kind of a long-term friend. We didn't hear much from her in recent times. She asked us what was new. When we briefly mentioned my upcoming appearance on Oprah, Dr. Mike and I, who was on Oprah with me the first time, we were both very excited about it. She looked noticeably distant. She did not congratulate us and me on my second appearance on Oprah. They commented very interestingly. She commented in a brief and disinterested voice as, Gee, that's nice, I guess. And she quickly changed the topic. After that incident, she acted distant and uninterested whenever we saw her in our group. This is vastly different from the warm and friendly way she used to act toward us. The point of this example and experience is that myself and my co-author, Dr. Michael Mercer, needed to choose between achieving our exciting vision for ourselves, our company, and our lives, and keeping a friend who was somewhat distant, jealous, and unsupportive. You too probably will need to make such choices as you achieve your goals and move closer to your exciting vision for your life. So now, take a moment, and now's a good time for you to evaluate your friendships. After all, optimistic people surround themselves with people who are upbeat, supportive, and motivated. So let go and limit those you have outgrown, or those who can't put aside their jealousy or dissatisfaction about their lives and project it on you. You never have to say you're sorry or play small for doing the work you did to make your life happy and optimistic. So remember that. Sometimes it's a lonely period of time, but the benefits in the long run are amazing. Remember, reflect and think about what obstacles you relate to in my podcast today, and take action as I taught you today on those obstacles. The sooner you get started, the better. And so how about right now, right? Let me know how these patterns I'm teaching you land. Let me know how it lands with you. And feel free to email me at Dr. Mercer at positivelifeanswers.com. That's DrMercer at positivelifeanswers.com. Take a moment to go to positivelifeanswers.com and sign up for your free newsletter. My newsletter is a great way to support the topics I talk about in my podcast and also communicate with you. It will also alert you to upcoming workshops and group gatherings that we're planning in the future. As a bonus, when you sign up, you'll get a free, and I do mean free, guide called Quick Tips to Become More Upbeat and Optimistic. And while you're at the website, on our online store, you can get a copy directly from me, and I can autograph it to you. Our book called Spontaneous Optimism, Bouncing Back from Difficult Times, and other programs there. So feel free to email me your questions and comments using the Contact Us form, or via my email I just gave you, and I'll respond to your questions and comments via email and directly in my podcast. So you can contact me also about my unique intensive coaching sessions. We can meet in person or on video calls such as Zoom for these intensive coaching meetings. So let me know if you're ready to take a leap in your path to changing or improving your life. Please use that Contact Us form or my direct email in regard to those intensive coaching sessions, and also for requests to speak at your organization or conference. And thank you for someone who just recently booked me to give a keynote address at a leadership conference coming up this spring. Please use that contact form or my direct email to contact me regarding intensive coaching sessions and for any requests and recommendations to speak at your organization or conferences. A note to my listeners, this podcast aims to provide useful information to my listeners, and it's published with the understanding that your host, Dr. Mary Mercer, is not engaged in rendering professional services such as counseling or therapy through the contents of this podcast. If professional services is needed by the listener, such as counseling, therapy, or medical advice, then the listener is responsible for seeking the services of a competent professional. I recommend you contact your local psychological association. Contact your primary care MD for referrals. Thank you for listening. Good luck with these obstacle removers. Email me if you have any questions about it, and make it a fantastic week. See you next time. Positively, Dr. Mary.